the Chancellor of Governor University, ably represented by Professor Bridget Shokon, the Education Secretary, Living Faith Church Worldwide, my Vice Chancellor, Deputy Vice Chancellor, the Acting Registrar, and the Dean of all Deans and the Director of Financial Services, permit me to stand on the already established protocols. Can two actually work together except they agree? I want you to please listen with reason with me as I take you through a journey of relationship and behavior change. I strongly believe that no one in this auditorium will just follow, not unless you are follow. If somebody says, "Come with me," I expect you to say, "To where? Where are we going? For what?" And all the rest. So that's why I pose the question, can two work together except they agree? You see, from my experience as a professional providing counseling, we've had some students when they are in trouble. They will say, "He just told me to come. Oh, I never knew this is what will happen." Can two actually work together if there is no agreement? I will leave the answer to you and follow me whether the answer is yes or no. So in this lecture, I intend to take you through what is helping and what is helping relationship. And I'll try to give you some of the skills the professional helpers have used in helping relationship. And then I'll go on to the broad basis of helping, which includes exploration, insight, and action. And I will share with you some of my ideas and thoughts in my professional career in terms of contribution. What is helping? Generally, we can provide informal helping, and helping can also be formal. You can provide informal helping to your friends in the hostel. You can say, "Please advise me what to do. Tell me what to do." And you can say, "Do 1, 2, 3. Let's pray that that person you are trying to help will not come back to say, "You've misled me. I shouldn't have listened to your advice." So also helping can be formal, provided by a seasoned helping professional. And this is the area I want to talk about. Minding the time, I want to explain that there are various types of working together. Some work together for good, and working together could be for worse. Like I've told you, you should not join a colleague when he says, "Let's go." Because from my various experiences, we've encountered situations that I just followed him because he's a friend. That is not the way to go. You cannot work together except you agree. The Chancellor, sir, ably represented by the Education Secretary, I've said that what is helping? Helping is simply assisting someone in need. The person could maybe have a psychological problem. He or she could be in pain. And that person could be in difficulty. Maybe that person wants to learn a new skill. And what is helping relationship? It is assumed that in any helping relationship, there should be at least two people. Like we've said, can two work together except they agree? So also is in a helping relationship. You must have two people. There must be a kind of psychological contact. The person needing help and the person helping, they must come together. They must have a goal. And like I've said, can two work together? If somebody is leading you somewhere and you don't know where the person is leading you, that can be serious. It can call for caution. And in this lecture, I will take you to some of the things the helper does. Because when you are leading someone on a journey, it is assumed that you, the leader, you know the way. You will not say, wait a minute, let me go and find out which direction we are to go. That person is not likely to continue with the journey. So is in the helping relationship. When you are helping someone, that person being helped must find a kind of comfort, trust, believe in the idea that you are really going to provide a change in his behavior. When we talk about helping relationship, so many terminologies have been used. The person helping could be a therapist or a counselor or just a helper. And the person being assisted could be called a client, a clientele, a helpee, or a client. In this lecture, I'll be using these terminologies interchangeably because of time and for convenience. Remember, the two going on the journey is the helper and the helpee. If you like, the therapist and the client. The word therapist is common in the medical setting. This is what they use. But in non-threatening situations, we say maybe the helper and the helpee. Now, let us assume that the person helping has to demonstrate some skills. This is what they call helping skills. The helping skills are many and they are varied. And this is what distinguishes you as a helper, not just giving an ordinary advice, which the person may come around to accuse you of giving him the wrong advice. So, in the helping professions, people have come up with skills that could differentiate people who are truly helpers from those who are not helpers. These some we call counselor characteristics. If you join me, they've listed so many items or skills or traits the counselor should have or who the helper should have. Such traits include sensitivity to others, emotional stability, objectivity, giving respect, fact and trust from others, and so on and so forth. In addition to these characteristics, it is also assumed that there are phases of helping. If you in the first slide, which will be projected for you, the figure 1, I want to go through the helping process. This helping process involves exploring, understanding, acting, and feedback. In other words, in a helping relationship, it should begin with exploration, which will lead to understanding that will guide the person being assisted to be able to act, and through feedback, you can decide whether to begin the cycle again. That is the figure. Also related to this figure is the area where the helper and the helpee will need to collaborate. This collaboration includes attending, responding, personalizing, and initiating. In this, we are saying that the helper must cooperate with the helpee in terms of exploring, understanding, and acting. There are also some attending behaviors that the helper must display, which we are going to capture now in some of the pictures to be projected. If you look at the first figure, you can see that the distance is very important in a helping relationship. You should not be too far apart from the person you are helping. This is a situation whereby the helper is too close. Are they chatting? Or are they talking? Are they in love? No, this is not recommended. There should be a distance and reasonable psychological distance in a helping profession. There are other slides which will show you some of the behavior types, such as when the helper is standing too far apart. In another slide, studio, can we have the slide where the helper and the helpee are too far apart so that you can see it? It's supposed to be the first slide. Yes, tell me, can meaningful helping happen in such a situation? Not unless you want to shout to the person you are helping. That's not recommended. There are also situations whereby the counselor and the client should maintain a kind of arrangement that there is no obstruction. You see, if you have a table in front of you, you are not an administrator. You see, that person has a table. In the counseling relationship, the table is regarded as an obstacle. You see, and it's not usually recommended. It's face-to-face on a sofa, and in some situations also, it is cautioned that the relationship, the counselor should not distract. Let's see the slide where somebody was helping and then he was receiving phone call, whereas the person sitting opposite was in going through an emotional trauma. This should not happen. This is the case of somebody who is supposed to be helping and is busy talking away while the client is in agony. Now, in a helping situation, in a group setting, you will see the next slide whereby one can attend psychologically. Here is a group session where one of the participants is in tears, and they were trying to offer her some handkerchief to kind of relieve. Now, having said that, that's the picture. You can see one of the participants is weeping, and there's a way to say, don't cry. Now, what are the stages, the three models, the stage model of helping? Remember, I said there are three stages. I'll begin with the exploration stage. This is the stage that lays the foundation for the next two stages, and is related to establishing relationship and trust. It gives the client an opportunity to express his or her emotion, and it's an opportunity to think through the complexity of the problem. And there are some conditions that must be fulfilled, which Roger said, and that there must be psychological contact. Remember, I said that can two work together except they agree? Before you can work together, you have to come together. This is what is called psychological contact, and it goes on and on. Apart from the exploration stage, the second and important stage is the insight stage. In this stage, this is where you take your client, the person you are helping, to a situation whereby he comes to see a new light, seeing things in a new way or from new perspective, and understanding things that happen and how they do happen. There's a kind of awareness. And the last stage is the action stage. In this stage, there are steps that need to be explored. They need to explore what the client wants to do, assess what the clients have done in the past, agreed on specific goals, and brainstorm possible ways of reaching these goals, and exploration of different options. And there must be termination. Every journey where there's agreement, it must end somewhere. If two people go on a journey and one person returns, they will say that person could easily be accused of kidnapping, because when you go on a journey, you must return. So also is termination. No helping relationship goes forever. There must be an end. And the counselor or the helper must also be skilled in the helping profession. Remember, I started by saying that can two work together except they agree? I will still come back to this. I want you to start ruminating from what we've said so far to find out whether you agree with me or not. Now, let me quickly take you through some of my contributions to knowledge in counseling psychology. I want to quickly say that I was away in Botswana for 19 and a half years, where I was the director of the counseling center. So primarily, I was providing careers and counseling services. What did I do when I was there? I must put on record that in terms of my accomplishments, I can say that there was this career mentor that was introduced. The Career Mentor is a software where the users can easily come to find out about their occupational interests and what they can do. And this was done in collaboration with the computer science department. And it was demonstrated to the former president of Botswana, His Excellency Festus Mohai. In addition to this career mentor, I've been instrumental in the development of digital scholarship and career services, online career support and group, and online careers registration. Not only this, there is also the job placement unit, which was developed. The job placement unit serves the purpose of assisting students to get employment. It cooperates with the university learning and teaching policy, and it also it was involved in the university graduate employability strategy. In terms of counseling services, I was instrumental in the introduction of online counseling services and telephone counseling. Here's a number, there's a number you can call 24/7. We have people manning it. We had the support of the the telephone department to make this happen. And also, there was this peer counseling that was introduced. The idea of the peer counseling is that we want to have a stopgap between the professional counselors and students who are in difficulty. So some peer counselors are trained to serve as counselors, and they are paid. It wasn't for free, and we hope we'll get there. And I was able to get the university to introduce center flyers or brochures. These are on different topics. Some people will not want to come for help for one reason or another. So we have flyers like, your exams are coming. What do you have to do before exam? What do you have to do during examination? And what do you have to do after exam? How do you study? What are the things you need to know? These are kept in strategic places in the bookstore, the library. And some of them were published in the local language, Setswana, because people felt it shouldn't be the university alone that should benefit from it, but from others. There is also my research. Let me begin with the research on the counselor characteristics. The whole idea is to see, we've been talking about helping relationship, that those who are in helping relationship, they need to have some skills, some characteristics. This was a study which involved 80 subjects who are in the counseling training program. The study was designed to identify those characteristics believed to be ideal in the counselor. And the finding wasn't surprising. It corroborates what others have found, in that these traits are welcome and should be encouraged in all helpers. What about the employer satisfaction survey? I was involved in this employer satisfaction survey for the University of Botswana, and the whole idea was to assess the expectation and satisfaction level of employers. What are the findings? It was discovered that the skills found relevant to employers include communication, computer skills, interpersonal skills, critical thinking, flexibility, and adaptability, planning, and the like. A similar pilot study was conducted for university, for Covenant University, and the employer, this by Odukoya and others, incidentally, I was part of this engagement too. The employers said communication skills, problem-solving skills, basic knowledge of core concepts in the field, and work ethics are also very important. What are we saying? We are saying that the employers know what they want, and the university should do to ensure that students are equipped with these skills. The study on feasibility of the establishment of Career Resource Center was another project in which I participated in, which I was the main principal researcher. The study revealed that there was apparent inadequate career services in the schools in Botswana. And after this study, the study influenced the establishment of career centers for in and out of schools in Botswana. And such centers were also established in institutions of higher learning. They study on alcohol and substance abuse. University of Botswana has a challenge with alcohol because the alcohol there is cheap. People come from outside to buy alcohol, and sometimes we've had cases of students coming to class drunk, which we don't have in Covenant University. Praise the Lord. And after this study, it was found that, yes, there was a serious challenge in the use of alcohol and abuse of substance. And this finding led to setting up of a committee by the university, which eventually came up with the University of Botswana Alcohol and Substance Abuse Policy, with me as the administrator of this policy. What about the issue of HIV/AIDS? This is a serious health issue in Botswana. You've been hearing me say Botswana. Botswana is the third richest country in Africa because of its diamond and beef. But there's a challenge of HIV/AIDS. I must say that the government took a bold step in addressing the issue in terms of antiretroviral drugs and publicity of the dangers and awareness on HIV/AIDS. Our study focused on adolescents. What we found was that the adolescents, although they had the knowledge, but they had negative belief about HIV/AIDS. And the impact led to the information, the dissemination among these adolescents because of their sexually active state. We all know adolescents are sexually active. On the study on death, grief, and bereavement, this is a study I started when I was at the University of Ibadan. We were trying to look at what happens when people die, children die, members of family die. Where do they get the support? There are no serious psychological support. Let me say that when I first started this study, I got a challenge. My wife said, "Why do you always bring home books and notes about death and dying? You know we have just married." And I said, "Cool down. It's just a topic in psychology." Later on, my head of department, the late Professor C.G.M. Bakari, he said, "You know what? We want to promote this study on death and dying." And he announced in the meeting that by 1 a.m., we are going to go to the cemetery together. We are going to stand back to back with me holding one torchlight and he will hold another torchlight, and we march forward. Should anybody, an intruder, come out, we flash the torchlight on him or her to say that you are a liar. But unfortunately, I could not continue the study. Why? My wife called home and they said, "Amos, leave the dead to rest where they are." Nevertheless, I want to thank her for her support in other areas. The whole idea is that how do we approach people who are grieving? Because we always have them coming to us for help. This is why we are trying to look at the ways to assist them. And in our studies, we found that some of them, although they use reasonable methods of adjusting, some fail to adjust. This is what necessitated this study. And also closely related to this study is suicidal ideation. Why would somebody want to die? But the truth of it is that psychologists have said some people have suicidal ideation because they want to attract attention. Some will say, well, they want to maybe have a brief closure and then maybe come back. They will do the attempt but not willing to die. And the third category will be those who actually want to die, and they will perfect the method of dying. And so in our study, it was surprising that university students will have issues that will make them think of dying. And this is what we found, that suicide ideation in descending on that would be when there are family problems, loss of close person or relationship, when there are academic difficulties, and the like. And closely related to this suicide ideation is the suicide in Botswana. And this was taking a 10-year review of suicide in Botswana. Like I've said, it's a challenge. Suicide happens in most countries, including Nigeria. You will recall not too long ago, we have reports in the newspapers. And in terms of suicide, our study, the findings revealed that suicide was more common among men, and then among subjects who are single, and among subjects who have no formal education. And most of the victims were usually most of the victims who committed suicide were in the low income level. And usually there were relationship problems and mental disorders issue related. Conclusions. I remember we said, can two work together except they agree? In the helping relationship, I'm trying to demonstrate that it is comparable to the situation of two people going on a journey. That journey, I sincerely hope the two of them know where they are going. If you have been asked, come with me, you need to say to where and for what. It has been demonstrated that both must bear responsibility for the journey in the helping relationship. That's another valid point. And that the two, that is the helper and the client, must both agree to begin the journey of the helping relationship. Rogers stated that in a helping relationship, the client and the helper must be in a psychological contact. Also, the client must be in a state of incongruence. There must be a state of discrepancy between self and the experience that makes the client feel vulnerable, suggesting that the helping relationship, if undertaken, will be beneficial. On the other hand, the helper must be congruent, genuine, or integrated in the relationship. Remember I said that if somebody say, come with me, let's go, the person has to know the way. You shouldn't be asking, let me find out which way we should go. This is the same as in the helping relationship. It is assumed that the helper possesses the wherewithal to guide the client through the relationship journey that will lead to behavior change. There is a mutual consent to begin the journey of two, and there is no coercion to begin the helping relationship journey as well. Remember, if I agree to go on a journey, there's no coercion. You cannot force somebody into a helping relationship. That person must come on his or her own volition. The two on a journey know the purpose of their journey, just as the two in the helping relationship know that the goal is to lead to behavior change. There must be a trust. That is, the person leading the journey knows the direction. The helper in the helping relationship has the expertise and is aware of various techniques to be used that will lead to behavior change in the client. And as the journey progresses, it is anticipated that the leader of the two on a journey will keep encouraging the led so as to sustain his or her interest in the journey. Similarly, in a helping relationship, the helper is expected to display appropriate relationship enhancers to improve the quality of the helper-client interactions. And it's also important that the journey of the two, they have agreed to work together, usually ends possibly when they both get to the destination or return to base. Similarly, the helping relationship also ends when there is behavior change. Both the helper and the client then terminate the relationship. Now, let's see my recommendations. We have been looking at some of the researches we have engaged in, and I'll quickly pick on the following. Not that all the others do not have their contribution. But let's look at the issue of alcohol and substance abuse. It has been demonstrated that in every university in the country, there are issues with alcohol and substance abuse. So institutions of learning must have in place proactive and preventative measures and services with opportunities for referral and rehabilitation for students who engage in this risky behavior of alcohol and substance abuse. And with reference to employee satisfaction survey, the study revealed that the employers know what they want from graduates in terms of skills. Hence, frequent interaction between university and the employers will help to improve graduate employability. We're doing fine. Don't let me say we are not doing badly. We are doing fine in Covenant University. I know there were a series of Ghana and Town seminars today. I want to thank the university for this, and I would say we should update it. And the universities should be mandated to have a graduate employability strategy that will address the issues related to employment of their graduates. It will also be helpful if institutions of higher learning maintain a study of their graduate destination. It helps to create both a strong alumni base and a marketing strategy for prospective students. In terms of bereavement, students do experience emotional pain, and some do employ unhealthy and inappropriate coping strategies when faced with grief and bereavement. Consequently, a proper structure for crisis intervention in every institution will be helpful. What about the study on suicidology? Suicide can happen at any age among students and at national level. Consequently, the understanding and awareness of suicide trend in every nation, including Nigeria, will enable each country address the issue and plan its remedy. There is the need for manuals on antecedents of suicide prevention and management to be readily available. There is also the need for the media not to make suicide cases sensational. The media report may need to avoid details of location or method used, and sources of help should always be provided to readers when each media report on should be provided to readers with each media report on suicide. You will recollect not too long ago, there was the story of a medical doctor who jumped over the Third Mainland Bridge. Third Mainland Bridge. Another woman followed, Third Mainland Bridge. And then it took the state government to say, no walking on Third Mainland Bridge again. When people know how you can easily kill yourself, the source, it encourages them. And for each case reported, there must always be a referral to say, if you're in difficulty, this is where you need to go. Vice Chancellor, sir, ably represented by Professor Bridget Shokon, the Education Secretary, Living Faith Worldwide. I want to go to acknowledgements. All glory must be to the Lord for this opportunity and privilege I'm given to deliver this inaugural lecture today. This lecture has been made possible because of God's servant and Chancellor of Covenant University, Dr. David Oyedepo, who pursued the dream to establish this university after receiving divine revelation for its establishment. I pray that God will continue to grant him divine strength and guidance each day of his life. I also seize this opportunity to note and appreciate those with whom I've collaborated with in my early years of university career in research in the Department of Guidance and Counseling, University of Ibadan, namely Professor C.G.M. Bakri and Professor S.A. Geshide of blessed memory, Professor Akimboye Okoye, Lao Shebikon, Helen Nwangu. They've all collaborated in one way or the other. And I also want to thank my colleagues at the University of Botswana. I sent out a list to them to say, look, have I left any of you out? They said no, except some names have changed, some have been married. So I want to thank all of them through Dr. L.W. Odirili. I want to appreciate the Vice Chancellor of University of Botswana, the Vice Chancellor of Covenant University now, Professor A.A. Atairo, the Deputy Vice Chancellor, Professor Shalom Chinedu, the Acting Registrar, Mrs. Mary Aboyade, and other members of management in making this inaugural lecture a possibility. I appreciate the role of my Dean, Professor Charles Obulogo, for his suggestion when I was preparing this lecture. I know I have 45 minutes to deliver the lecture, but as we see from the book, it's over 80-something pages. So we agreed that it should be trimmed down so that I will be within the time limit. I want to thank the deans of other colleges, the directors and head of department and professors and other faculty and staff present at this lecture. I thank my head of department, Dr. Gbadebo Adejumo, the faculty and staff of Department of Psychology and staff in the College of Leadership Studies. The encouragements I received from Professor Taiwo Abioye, who also participated in proofreading the paper. That's why there are not so many grammatical errors. The support provided by Dr. Adeke, Dr. Sevuma, Professor Edewo, and Professor Bridget Shokmo, the Education Secretary, Living Faith Church Worldwide. Professor Akiade, I all appreciated. I want to thank Professor Isaiah Obayan, the Vice Chancellor of Landmark University of Umuaran, who gave some encouraging words. In fact, he told me they will not be able to hear today. There was no flight, and I appreciate their efforts. I want to thank Dr. Ayo Elegbele, Dr. Elizabeth Oluokere, and the students of the Department of Psychology, especially those who participated in the demonstration. Akide Imosieme, Akarume Rosemary, Oyedeji Ayoluwa, Owoduni Boluwatife, Ifeanyi Amarachi, Adance Apia Ada, Eriri Emmanuel, Oladino Boluwatife, Lekwa Eke Ifeanyachuku, Ejiogu Samalisa, additional Kasokwe, and Iwanyawu Daniel. I thank you for volunteering to be part of this. And the contributions of those who typed this work, Mrs. Ada Odeshi, Mrs. Tokwe Ajayi, and the pastor of the college, Pastor, the name will come later. You know who I'm talking about. Thank you we have spent a lot of time putting the slides together. And I also want to thank Dr. Fulani, Dr. Sharif, Dr. Fulani, Sharif, Dr. Jaramola, the Director of Academic Planning, who kept monitoring the progress of this lecture. I appreciate the Corporate Affairs Division staff of the studio and all the people who have been helpful in one way or another to make this lecture to be a success. I want to thank my colleagues, the Olivetians who are present here. I sincerely thank those who are able to make this lecture. I want to thank Professor Fanino, my big uncle, Dr. Adimola Adejumobi, Professor Inyoda, and Professor Bamigboye. You just set so many things aside just to grace this occasion. And I also want to thank members of my family who have supported me. Professor and Mrs. Ogunremi, she called me a few minutes before we started the lecture to say, good luck, my brother. And I also want to thank Professor and Dr. Mrs. Ajao, Dr. Bisi Olowude, Mrs. Bumi Olowude, and family, and my brother Tunde and wife Olowude, Pastor and Mrs. Adegbite, and brother Yomi Adegbite. The support and input from my wife, Doyin, I don't call her Doyin, I just say Yorks, and for our children and grandchildren have been motivating. I sincerely thank you all for creating the time to attend this inaugural lecture. And I wish you all God's abundant blessing. To God be the glory.
Please, let's keep putting our hands together for the presenter of today.